So welcome everyone to today's panel discussion. It's really a pleasure to be here among all the esteemed panelists today. We really hope that there will be some interesting points coming out, which will be things which people will walk away with in terms of something that rings a bell for them, something that's a shift in perspective, or something that's new and refreshing. I personally do a lot of work in the space of women career advancement through my firm Carpe Diem Learning. And I mean, needless to say, this topic is very, very close to my heart as well. I myself took a break, of about 1.5 years, in fact, where I said that I'm not going to work. It was a conscious break for me. But when I got back, it was with a bang, with the ambition, which was something new to me. It was very different from the ambition I had before, because this time I was doing it with multiple other responsibilities, that of being a mother, a complete rewired brain. So yes, the pause is something that I actually ended up putting up on my LinkedIn profile. So this is just a little bit I wanted to share before we get started, because that pause actually was the most meaningful career decision I took for myself. And I also am, and like all of you would be pretty much in sync with, how pivotal these breaks can be and how it can go this way or that when you come back. So today's panel discussion is all about making sure we're setting up women for success through the challenges that are inevitable for all career women. And yes, the sabbaticals and breaks are something that unfortunately, by the way it is, women tend to take most of these sabbaticals, which is why we are all here. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get started. I have some interesting questions. I tried to restrict them, but they'll keep flowing as the discussion keeps going. My first question is to Kasturi. The question is that why do women really shy away from putting their break, talking about their break during interviews, during work discussions? What is it that really holds them back from doing so? Is it societal stereotypes, or is it their own, internal inhibitions or limitations? Kasturi, you're on mute. If you could just come off mute.
Yes. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for that wonderful question, Aditi. In my opinion and understanding, it's both and even more, many more rather. Yeah. In fact, this just reminds me of an incident or a conversation that I had with one of my, business leader, who we were looking at few reports and things like that, and then he was pointing out one piece saying, we need to start encouraging our hiring managers to go beyond profiles or CVs. For women especially, because for the sheer reason he has seen in his career many a times when he was recruiting for his own teams, women are underplaying. They frequently underplay of their potential. So this is one of the ingredients that we're going to bring it to our managerial development program as one component, and how do they scale up to their teams. Because this is all because we need to be cognizant of the fact that this is something that is deep rooted, deep conditioned, within us, and it's time that we now start counter conditioning this kind of thing, because we have been taught over a period of time to underplay and to be risk aversive, especially for women. Now, if we were to counter condition this, how can we be doing it? The effective way and a sustainable approach is one, the peer influence. Second, a platform of such as this. More spoken, merrier it is, right? More and more women have to see their peers taking that lead, and then the impact that has brought for them, and perhaps witnessing that kind of a move from the usual comfort zone. What has it brought to them? So if they start seeing that, And then just in our previous panel, we have been having inspiring stories. So such inspirations are required. Now, sailing through these times, we need that equal participation. Women, I mean, from women as well. I mean, it should come from within, because this is the time which is, I would say, the situations and all of that are at ease than ever before. Right?
Absolutely.
Deficit of workforce, I mean, all of us are recognizing, and it can't be met without having women's active inclusion. Organizations are making every effort to attain this measure, right? I mean, we have spoken in enormous forums how organizations are coming forward and supporting and things like that. So why not utilize it now than ever before? Come out of that inhibition, right? I'm sure it is spoken in many forums on various stances on how each woman is out of her own episode coming out and demonstrating that she can do it as well. So it's time that women take and indulge oneself there. Globally, we know that it's just 32% of women in the workforce.
Yes.
But in India, if we were to look at it's, I believe it's around 20%.
It's 20. Yes, it's much lesser.
Yeah, around. So we have almost 8 to 9% that we need to catch up to be globally competitive as well. So and internally within India, we are talking about how is India going to be at India at 100, and we are soon targeting to be the third largest economy. Do women want to lose out on opportunity to contribute to increase this GDP growth? I said, it's now better because many organizations are easing it to work. So why take that advantage now? And I'm sure, platforms such as Jobs for Her, Neha and her team, kudos to drive this kind of message to larger pool of women, to shed out whatever inhibitions they have. I know there are a lot of challenges. I mean, it requires a lot of deep rooting and then social conditioning that has to change as well. And it's easy said than done. But when there are multiple angles, right? When the organizations have eased out, when the economy is looking forward, when the industry is wanting it, it's just the social conditioning that we have to fight the battle and then get there.
Yeah.
I'm sure, be it pediatric or geriatric care often falls on women's plate. Then call out, make it, recognize the fact and get the help from the other family members as well. Firstly, the partner, and then,
absolutely,
take that shift from ourselves, right?
It's interesting how you say, Kasturi, that, women are conditioned, and that's true. Women are conditioned somewhere to be risk averse, to do things which, kind of blend in with their family system, blend in with what is, rather than questioning the status quo and moving forward. I would also say it's a great idea to really relook and reimagine your career break really as, or rather your sabbatical as a badge of honor, and really deep dive and see what did you gain out of that time that you were off. There are a lot of life skills and people skills and even functional work related skills and learning that you can do during that time. So it's important to, really reimagine the break in that sense.
Absolutely.
And do it differently.
Yeah. And another important factor is, I think I'm sure it has been spoken, it's being a woman is an all-rounder is a shedded one, right? I mean, it is no more going to be so it's okay to be vulnerable, and we go with that.
Yes.
We go with that. It is our strength to be vulnerable. So that's about it.
It's in fact, there was a study done, and it was about one of the biggest competencies that leaders of the 21st century require, which is emotional intelligence. And somewhere it's kind of hardwired into us, if you may, right? Thanks, Kasturi. Would anybody like to add any points to this before we move on to the next question, which is pretty much in line? Okay, and as perspectives come in, please do dive in. So you can all be unmuted if that works fine. Shirin, my next question is to you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So like Kasturi was also saying, pediatric and geriatric care is one of the reasons why women tend to take sabbaticals, and this responsibility more often than not falls on their shoulders, and they take the ownership of it. At the same time, there is also relocation of your spouse, which is typically the trend, recently there was some posts around how Madhuri Dixit's husband is relocating to India because she wants to now come back to her career full time, and people are questioning it, people are talking about it. Now this is a great wave of change, right, in that sense, but at the same time the majority of women really take a hit in their careers because of these reasons, these personal reasons. What do you have to say about it?
Thank you. Thanks, Aditi. And very, very lucky and honored to be in a session like this. It always brings it all back home, right?
Yes.
We're talking about this every day. You're sort of selling the concept of how women are equal and probably living that concept every day. But sessions like these, they help you sort of get it all back together. So I think Rekha, Kasturi, Chasi, thank you. I'm honored to be a part of the panel with you today. I think I'll make the point slightly larger here, right? And I'll flip it a bit. Yes, we've left our homes and gone ahead and worked with our husbands. Yes, we've had a situation where we have been the minority in boards, in companies, and we've been that sacrificing person at home and everything at the end of the day. But I think to that extent, it's always been a culmination of what you've seen in the society as the whole also.
Yeah.
Workplace is never different from society. Haven't we been doing that at home as well, in a situation where probably a meal is served and the mother will take the lesser share and say that the rest of the family can have and I will go ahead later because I'm the nurturer, I'm the caretaker, right? And it comes from the DNA of probably a tigress hunting for the cubs. I'm bringing that analogy because that tigress herself will get the food in. If you see a hunting video on National Geo, she gets the food in, she gives it to the family, the kids and the men in the family will hog, and then she'll probably go and clean it up in the end, right? So when you look at that analogy, you feel, what is it that's the USP of the situation? The USP of the situation is that you're the aggregator. You're the one who gets everybody together. You're the one who sort of brings it all home in terms of whether it's—
You're the gatherer in that sense.
That's right. And you take care of everyone. So I think now, fast forwarding to your question, right, and just trying to build that context with that analogy, I think workplaces have been, and I want to sort of take this a positive spin. I think workplaces have done a lot to take care of that aspect and to build that aspect as a quality for the firms, right? And I'll bring it home in a second. So for instance, what was pandemic? Pandemic was actually the culmination of the divide in the society that came all together. For working in offices, we had to work at home. We were stretched. There was burnout. Women left jobs. But why was that? That's because I think every time the firms have been talking about work-life balances, they've never been talking about work-life integration.
Integration, yes.
Right? You've got to talk about how you sort of take care, how the firm takes care of the personal life of the person. Now, whether it's a man or a woman, and of course, more in the case of a woman, because we have an extended charter when we go home. So having said that, there's nothing wrong in being the caretaker. There's nothing wrong in having that in our DNA, because we can't change that overnight. I mean, I can't stop caring for the family because I'm made like that, right? That's nature. But how is the firm, or how is the setup, how is the community sort of helping me use that as my quality, like you brought in the EQ and the vulnerability point here? And secondly, how is that being taken care of so that I don't give up on certain things? I don't feel shortchanged, right? That's where that point of relocation or, a family take care, etc. Why am I giving it up? I'm giving it up because my organizations were not able to give me that comfort. Now coming back to the attributes, a lot has happened, by the way. I think the community and the industry and NASSCOM numbers, they report out that because of this entire change in the way of thinking, right? Return to office, flexibility, giving women the sort of the honor of working at any time, any hour.
And gig working in that sense as well.
All that has actually resulted in increasing the employability of women in India. I mean, for instance, if I take a little statistic here, 2019, we had about 35 to 40% employable postgraduate workforce in the country in a particular setup and industry. I'm talking averages, could be more in a certain industry, less in a certain industry. Over the last 2 to 3 years, because the flexibility has gone up so high, we are forget working. We're not even working from offices anymore, right? We're working from anywhere. All that flexibility has increased that percentage from 40 to 57. That 20% push has come in because now there are reignite programs. Women who had left their jobs are able to get into jobs now. They're able to pick up a coder or a software development job sitting somewhere in Trichy and trying to do it for somewhere in a client in America, you know. So all that flexibility has just weaved into a society beautifully, and women are at the advantage. So I think my advice will be to make the most of it, right? So I think that's something that the society and the industry has done very well. Needless to mention, I think the industry has also gone many-fold in terms of benchmarking and competing to get benefits up. I think the world and the world has become so smaller when it comes to we being, as women, being exposed to what is good for us. You know, we compare very quickly. Oh, that firm has better women benefits. Oh, that firm is probably giving us a better leverage. That firm is paying better equal employment opportunity for us, right? So because there's so much, canvas is so large and small both, women are able to quickly compare, and that compels organizations to keep benchmarking and keep improvising. So, you know, why is there the avatar surveys where people are going and, you know, signing up for best women places to work? Then there is great place to work certifications. Then there are those Gallup surveys that showcase that, you know, women are so comfortable and happy with us. It's all because you're trying to showcase to the world that my firm takes care of that diverse population, and I want to do that, right? So I think whether it's, and I bring it home with Kasturi, right? The childcare benefits, the sort of overall firm's agenda, the COVID well-being, everything I think was circling around a certain diverse population. Needless to mention, the third aspect of business, right? The idea of business is to do business. You have to make money at the end of the day. So I think organizations, I think now should realize that they need to tap into that percentage of the market, which actually is employable, educated, qualified, available, more talented perhaps, but not being able to work because of certain intrinsic factors.
And more ready to prove themselves. Sorry, but yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So I think that's the third element where now, you know, I think the firms have seen the cost angle in hiring women at home. The organizations have seen the cost angle of getting better productivity. The overall sense of, you know, them having that EQ quotient in themselves, etc. So it brings out all the additional stuff that you need from the talent and the market, right? And just to sort of summarize, and of course I'll give it back to you again in another 30 seconds, is, you know, just to summarize and say that even the younger generation is now showcasing all this, and the sector is showing this. I'll give a very recent example. I was at IIM Raipur last month, and I was doing this guest lecture with students and everybody, and they told me, ma'am, we have a diversity of 62% versus 48%. I said, fantastic.
Wow.
And girl candidates, right? Now go back to our time in college, right? We had what, two girls in the class of engineering, 16, right? Just 2 out of the 58 were boys, 2 were girls. Now, when it's that 62% percentage, look at what that result will be in our diversity in the offices when they join there, right? So right now, I know we are struggling at 30, 70, 20, 80, maybe at the entry level, we are slightly better at 45, 50 because we get fresh talent and we make sure the KRAs are met in that way. But I think probably 5 years down the line, you will see that the firms are probably languishing at about 45, 50% because they're going to, you know, mirror the education system of the country, and we'll have that diverse population. Now, I think the job is up to people like us, you know, this group, our organizations, firms, the mentors, the chairmen who are running setups, to sort of make that model sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Keep those benefits high, keep those things, elements in the job which integrate your work life and your personal life, rather than give a person a window to resign and go away, give the person a window to take a leave for 3 months, go away, think, come back and join back again. It's as basic as that, right?
Yeah.
I think the key is to not, it's opened, it started, you know, that's the positive spin. The key is to make it sustainable now with the attributes that make yourself comfortable. I hope I was able to get some.
Absolutely. And some really interesting points you got out there, and even statistics. Interesting, you said that, how egalitarian attitudes need to be mirrored from the home. It's like a chicken and egg. Home also needs to have that balance, that work-life integration. So do organizations. And organizations also need to have it so that there is, more balance at home as well. So it's like, it goes both ways, because this problem is real. It all starts out with a great diversity ratio. But somewhere down mid-career, where all these really these big challenges come up, or these changes have to be adjusted to, it's usually women who step up and do so. So all the more the organizations need to really step in and help support the women returnship agenda.
Absolutely. And I think the keynote speaker said it very well, right? She said, support your own.
Yes.
You're at the board, you support your own. You sort of create an environment so that you're able to create that thought process. It's a mind shift. If you're on that panel, create that mind shift.
And start to speak up, start to use your voice, especially if you're in positions of power already or on your path towards success. Be that example for others, to really be that leading light, I would say. Thanks. Really interesting points. Thanks, Shirin. Jhansi, so my next question is to you. And this is about, taking forward from what we have been discussing so far, what all our organizations doing to really support the diversity agenda, whether it's women career advancement as a whole, or just an aspect of it that is returnship. So how can the organizations really support, women returnees in a manner that, one, they have the confidence and they are able to leverage the skills that they acquired during their break time as well into their careers?
Absolutely. Firstly, today has been a wonderful Saturday morning. I don't think I could have asked for anything better on a Saturday. And it's my privilege to be, alongside conversing with Kasturi, Shirin, and Rekha. I mean, it's my pleasure. And thanks, Aditi, for moderating this. First thing, completely echo with Kasturi, Shirin, what they're saying, that we generally tend to undermine ourselves, right? And we are like, I think women, it takes at least for them to be 200% right for them to voice in a group of a forum. They're like, am I right? What do people think? So, that's right. Kasturi, what she mentioned was conditioning was the right word that she said, right? I mean, it's difficult for women to come. And imagine now with this, restarting the careers would be on the more difficult, right? Questions like, would I be doing the right thing? Is it the right time? I'm now shifting from not working state to a working state. Is it right? I mean, so many questions. Those are mental barriers that come into picture. And it takes a lot more courage and for women and confidence for them to, get back to women career in a mainstream. But what companies can do, I think, is with a little bit of empathetic handholding and systematic guidelines, right? They can help women to restart their career. The good part I see right now is companies have identified the need of creating a platform for these women employees to come back to work, which wasn't there in the past. But I think we've just started. It is just like, 2-3 steps in a long journey that each of us have to contribute to help other women employees to come back to work. And there are a lot of things that we need to do for enabling the women to come back to work. Things like focusing upon their upskilling, and providing them a mentorship, right? We all know the importance of having a mentor in our career. We always look back to them when we self-question ourselves, is it the right thing to do or not? Having a mentor is very, very useful. And when you are in a gap, while you're trying to do your own learning space of, catching up with what is happening in the industry, it is also important and critical if companies would spend some time on upskilling and reskilling the women employees who are returning back to work. And also, I strongly believe that, building that confidence for women, it's very, very important, because they start questioning themselves and, right from helping them in, building their resume, or, as we spoke about, upskilling their skills and making some sensitization programs. I think this is very critical, because there are a lot of biases around us, and imagining when women is coming back into their career at offices, and personally at the women's side also, the colleagues or people around tend to kind of, maybe focus upon things or ask questions that are not of that important, right? I think gone are those days when we should even look at a resume and say that, hey, there is a gap in your profile. It is fine, because pandemic really took a toll on everyone, and on the more women employees have been struggling to kind of keep up to the pace and the needs, and it's very, very difficult. So sensitizing programs internally to the call it hiring managers or the team members across, having them ask, not ask the questions that are not of relevance, right? I mean, when asked, you don't want to justify saying that why you've taken a break. Yeah, we know why we took a break, but let's move on and, let's start
Yeah.
about looking at where we want to start. And a successful program for a corporate, I also believe in having a well-defined program and an objective of that program. Now, why we doing this program? I mean, is it to just to have a platform? Yes, but it is more than creating a platform, right? Very recently, we had a focus group session with all the women returnees who've come back at our company, and amazing stories. Trust me, I was like, I came out of that room with 100x of my energy power. You know, the in-laws, the children, the family members, everyone saying that, hey, it's time for you to go back. This is exactly when the woman does not, they think they want to, but they're also even thinking, should I even make this conversation with my husband or with my family? But I think it's interesting to see, because of the various reasons, that, the family is encouraging. A woman told me, a woman returnee told me how her father-in-law every tea time was checking, did you update your resume? Is your resume ready to be posted? What is the status? You've applied for this company. Are you following up with them? Amazing. I mean, the family structures are also changing. They're not, while they're comfortable to have a woman to take care, but they're also encouraging them to get back to work. And there is another kid who was telling her mom that it's time, you took break for my, board exams. I needed you when I wanted you the most, but, I am supporting you. Now you go back, I can manage my studies. These are wonderful studies, and, sometimes the husband's posting the resume of their wife saying that, okay, now you got an interview, you better go crack it. So, these are like beautiful stories when women come back and talk. And these programs, imagine the amount of confidence that these people are coming back
as a group. Yeah, especially
as a group and also as an individual, right? We do our job out of passion and we love what we do. But I think moments like these actually, are the cherry on the cake and give a very soulful satisfaction that, as Cheryl said, we are fortunately sitting in a power of, able to move, mobilize, change policies and all. And if you're able to impact, another, fellow woman, coming back to mainstream career, it's amazing. I think I felt very soulfully satisfied when I have sat in that room hearing to this, stories. I mean, it's just phenomenal to hear them. And the other thing I think is about our policies. As I said, I think we've just started in this area of having a structured program, or companies starting to think the importance of having a woman returnee program. And we are seeing a lot of companies having this. But hiring is one, and also the other important thing is retaining and sustaining that. Right? It's just not about, hey, I have hired, but how do I do it? Right from our policies, how do we make them very friendly? Also ensuring that we have a very strong structured onboarding program and help them integrate well, and also giving them the flexibility of working hours. Could be part-time, could be full-time, or maybe like, like Kasturi said, like the gig projects that they can do. Why not? I mean, companies should be able to allow them to start, do their, and also understand their barriers. You'll be very confidently talking now, and but real time, each of us have a different level of, getting into the, career, right? Some people might need a little more hand holding. They might still be struggling with some issues around mentoring and having someone whom they can go to, reach out to, talk to if they are. And I believe the success of this program would be, at some point in time, we would not define this as a program. This would be a natural channel for all the companies to have women employees come and integrate. And it's, another source of women employees coming back to work. While I think we've started on a great note, there is so much more to be done. And, looking forward for this wonderful woman to come back to career and contribute. And, their energies are phenomenal. I think, the drive and the hunger for them to do that, I will do it. This is an opportunity, no looking back.
as I said, they're like, unstoppable right now. Confidence, contribution, and they strive to do more than what the job role says. There are a couple of people, when we were talking, saying that, hey, my job role says this, but I have walked the extra mile to do a particular few other things. Could be, in companies, employee resource groups, and contributing back to the society or helping the other women, right? That's like a very good chain reaction. They are enjoying the success of being in a company, and now they're also telling the other women employees beauty of getting into mainstream careers. So that's my take.
Yeah, thanks for so many inputs from your end, Jhansi. And I agree, the returnship programs and even policies, the more smoothly aligned they are to ensure the integration happens well. That we are not just returning to work unconsciously or mindlessly or in the race of equality, but we are actually doing it mindfully and holistically. So taking forward, and in fact, my personal experience has been that coaching has plays a very interesting and important part in really helping the person transition and transform through this entire journey, no matter what we do. And yes, having a group to share this with, having the learning sessions or building a community of returnees, ensuring their ecosystem is also prepared without those biases to really have the impact. It starts from the time you look at the CV till the time you really start working with that person and start making decisions on which project to give to this returnee, how to get the person, how to rate the person, all of those things, right? The biases really need to be kept aside consciously. So thanks for sharing all these inputs. I'll move on to the final question, and there are a couple of questions that have already come from the groups from the group that's listening to us, audience as well. So I will be posing them right after this last question to Rekha. So Rekha, this is taking forward from what Jhansi said and what we've been talking about so far in terms of policies that can really help a smoother transition for women who are coming back. Or I hope in the future, we have to let go of the word women here and we say people who are coming back, or the workforce that's getting integrated after a sabbatical. So policies are there, and then there are returnship programs on the rise. I want to hear from you. What do you think are the best practices here, and what do you think really can be reimagined for the better?
Thanks, Sarati. First of all, thank you for having me here. What a beautiful way to start Saturday morning with, right? And I heard three of my co-panelists, there's so much passion in there, right? To kind of rebuild, come back, help, support, and all of that, right? This question is really important. I know some part of it, Jhansi covered it, but I do want to probably spin a little and, kind of give you a very different perspective to it, right? So I have spent almost about 2 decades being a recruiting leader. I've seen the evolution of how these programs run on ground. It started where it is right now, and it's evolved. It's come a long way, right? Let me just take this back a little to a different angle.
Yes.
Every woman who have taken a break, and I've seen some of those up close and personal, including my own sister, has done something when they were on break, right? Learned some life skills. The problem with most of the programs when they were launched, they were very focused on numbers. I have certain target that I need to meet. So just go ahead, do some bit of media campaigns and, get these applications. And there were plethora of applications because there are a lot of women that are on break, right? The disconnect really happened is where this entire thing was not connected from the fact that they have certain skills. They have done some work in the past. They should not be evaluated on what work they have done in the past. That's where the disconnect happened, right? Clearly, people were evaluating them on, technologies that you worked, let's say 6-7 years back.
Which is obsolete at this point. Possibly.
Exactly. At this point, it was not fresh in their mind. They've not done any active work. So that's where it kind of fell through the crack, right? It pretty much became an opportunity for me to evaluate and reject a candidate where I don't see them on par with my rest of my team. What a big blunder that happened, right? And this is where I think HR took control. Most of us did, right? We went back, and I think Kasturi spoke about it. We went back and we started sensitization activities. Hey, look, these are women who are on break. They're coming back after I don't know how many years, right? They have some skills. What you need to really focus on is upskilling and reskilling them.
Yes.
And not
absolutely.
really look at them as your next candidate who's already on a job and can answer all your questions. Look at what they can really bring on table, right? Look at developing on that. Seize that opportunity that you have in hand. Imagine the kind of difference it will make when somebody who's coming from a very different perspective can really challenge you on the table, right? And I've seen that up close and personal. My sister has gone through this journey. She struggled. First few months, she struggled for a job. But when she landed, she's doing phenomenally well, honestly.
Yeah.
Because somebody there actually sees on the opportunity that she brought on the table, right? So again, I mean, now I'm going to shift the gear back to what an organization can do. Assimilation is the most important part of the program. It's not just look at the numbers and hire, but look at various ways and avenues that you have to assimilate these women. I can talk about programs that are there in city. It's an year-long program. It's not just 30, 60, 90 days. Usually we get to it. It's a year-long program. There are other competitors in market who do very well when it comes to making sure that they're not just hired, they're actually assimilated to the function, right? There are so many things that you can do, and I think there is a laundry list of things, right? I remember when the second part started where people were, oh, we can't really interview them on the basic skills. So we need to really focus on, what they bring in. So they started doing
potential.
Train and deploy method, right? So bring in industry available training and just get into it. Again, there was a lot of disconnect there. These trainings were designed for people who were already on the job. They were not designed for women that had breaks. So that again brought another challenge in hand, right? 3.0, you move, we realized, oh my God, we need to do some FGDs to get these women comfortable in their job, right? 4.0, now I see a lot of mentorship program going, and this is alumni of women returning from work who kind of help each other, right?
I think like you're saying, these, and I was also saying these one-on-ones really, really help. Whether you find a mentor, a coach, or whether it's, your manager itself.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It does. And you know what? I was just, while my co-panelists were speaking, I was just kind of moving through the windows to see what's happening on the Q&A. A lot of these questions are actually hinted towards that. How do I really get there? How do I get to a place where, I'm being offered a role of what I've done in the past or whatever, right? Just, a lot of organizations have, again, they rename it differently. Some call it rekindle, returnship, re-entry, and all of that. But a lot of these programs are not looking at what you've done in the past. They are looking at what you have right now. What you need is the clarity of thought and willing to learn something new. There are programs that are designed for years to make sure that you assimilate, do you do well? Feedback mechanisms, I've seen something new that I heard, that the channel of communication with these women cannot be the VAU that you have with the other employees, right?
It has to be tailored slightly differently. Absolutely. Because here the agenda is not to look at them only from an evaluative lens, like you pointed out, right? It's also from a developmental lens and from the larger, game of, like we were talking some time back, equal attitudes at home and at the workplace.
Absolutely. Yeah. And last but not the least, and something that I probably read through some of the well-known reports and statistics, right? When a survey was run on women who were returning to work, 78% of them raised their hand and said, we would love to have a mentor. Only 6% of them got it, right? Imagine the difference, right? So it's a combination of a lot of things. Don't design your program just to evaluate and look at what they don't have. Design the program on concentrating on the fact what they can really bring in. Train and deploy, but again, tailor your programs to suit the need, and don't bring in the available industry trainings that can, may not suit, right?
It's very customized, yes.
Mentorship program, again, bring the women alumni, the returnee alumni network in. They are the one who can speak through these women and, talk them through it, right? What are your challenges going to be? Last but not the least, I would say, bring in the flexibility that they need. When I say flexibility, again, I have a very different thought to flexibility, right? A lot of people come back and say, women, oh, they want to work from home. No, they're not looking for that, right? There's a combination of a lot of stuff that they need, and it's about both the parties, coming a step forward. The moment that happens, magic will happen. These women will come back. They will take the challenge. They will be one of us sitting here talking about this, right? So, I mean,
Great.
that's all I want to really add.
Thanks so much, Rekha. This was very interesting. And yes, I'm cognizant of time. We have just 5 minutes to close. And I'll just share a few questions that are coming from the groups, right? From the audience. So the first question is, in spite of hearing so much about relaunch, restart, and inclusion of women trying to get back to the workforce in the media, company campaigns, social media, someone saying that I'm experiencing that there is not much substance to it. The resumes don't even make the screening round unless somebody shows, somebody known puts in a word. How to find the right and genuine opportunities for restarting my career. So this has come from the audience.
I can pick this.
Sure, Kasturi.
This is something that we are currently working on. As I said in the beginning of the conversation,
Sure.
My business leader and I were talking. How do we train the hiring managers or the level 4, level 5 managers to ensure that they evaluate differently? It's so important. I mean, with whatever anecdote that comes, that men come from Mars and women from Venus. So it's a different perspective. It may not be from different planets, but it's different perspective that each of us carry. So how do we sensitize them on that? And also we were evaluating on how do we do away with CVs? How confident are we to do away with CVs? And then how do we give in that parameters on? That said, it's easy said than done. But organizations are recognizing the fact that we need to go beyond resumes, and I'm sure even for people who are in workforce, there's already a trend of not interviewing based on the CV, but rather interviewing based on what they bring as skills.
Yeah, and with what they can do futuristically, right? Absolutely. With the drive that they have, with the clarity that they have in terms of
Absolutely.
What they want to return back to. Yeah.
So the one aspect that perhaps women have to carry is one, the acceptance that, yes, I have taken a break and things like that. I'm going very confident on. I think all of us might be very familiar with the Titan or Tanishq ad that went, right? So she was quite confident on how to present her break and all of that. So one aspect is that, and second aspect is also to call out that, yes, these are the challenges that I might be finding in the gap. So what do I do? The skilling and reskilling and upskilling, cross-skilling is also applicable for people who are already in the workforce. So therefore, make that as an integral part, an everlasting thing that keeps going on. So that's from the candidate perspective for the women returning. And from the hiring perspective, organizations are recognizing. We are coming up with instruments where we can do away with evaluation on resumes.
And that said, Kasturi, the power of networking is something that even women women who are on a sabbatical need to really leverage to keep themselves active. It needn't be a full-on job. The gig working is really taking up, right? So take up as per your pace, be a well-oiled machine or fairly oiled service machine, to really come back with a bang and room into your career, back into your career.
Yeah, so. And organizations have also, evaluating on reduced working hours. I mean, earlier it wouldn't have been there, right? I mean, even our labor laws do come with some restrictions, but then we are doing away and working on those, parameters which can go in. So it's up to all of us to make that move.
Yeah,
if one enjoys to take that challenge, yes, this is the time to take the challenge. If they don't enjoy taking this challenge, then it's good too. Even that is good.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And we are at the close of the session now. We just have a minute to go. And there's just one last thought, around pay disparity. And yes, there is a huge pay disparity, and and they say that the pandemic has further got it, to a worse number. So it'll take somewhere around 135 years for us to close the gender pay gap. And the dynamics that the women have to engage with, the interpersonal challenges also the women returnees need to engage with are different, apart from the skills, apart from all of it. So we do have a long way to go. Any thoughts on this before we close? Ujjwala, we'll just take a minute to wrap up.
Yes. I was just going to say, like, if we could hear from each one of you, just a point or two about the question that Aditi has asked, it'll be a good way to end this really powerful discussion.
Yeah, what would be the most impactful thing we can do, say, in 1 or 2 lines from each of the panelists, please?
From an organization point, I mean, this has been my favorite, introducing a parental leave or a care leave, where we are driving in saying, even the male colleagues can utilize this.
Let them experience the sabbatical to the magnitude that women do too, right? Yeah.
So I think that can be one good measure that we can kind of try and evaluate. That way we are doing some good social, counter conditioning as well.
Thanks. Anybody else would like to add?
I think my word of gospel will go to women, because firms will, of course, be trying to do what they will do. I think, we always shy away from asking. We think that it may not happen and we may not get it. I think the best advice for anybody in the space that we are in is to ask of the unthinkable. And the worst thing that's going to happen, someone's going to say no. But then the fact that you at least made a dent by asking and created that thought process is what really matters.
And at work and at home, like we were discussing.
Yes.
Thanks.
I think please go ahead and ask and create your dent. So I think that's my mantra.
Thanks, Shirin. Rekha and Jhansi, would you like to add?
Yeah. So I think confidence is very important, and stop undermining, and self-doubting is something that we all should kill and just go take the plunge. It will all fall in place. Confidence is the key for us to move forward, and the company is looking forward to have and embrace a lot of women employees coming back to work. And as I said, we're just unstoppable. So just go for that.
Like in Kung Fu Panda, the secret sauce is nothing. It's belief. You believe it, and it's going to happen. So the confidence is where we need to start with. Thanks, Jhansi. Would you like to add anything, Rekha, before we close?
Just one last bit, right? For organizations, I know a lot has happened. Last 5-6 years, these programs have been in spree. They will evolve with the learnings that they have had. So just hang in there. Keep looking for the right opportunity on their web pages. Things have evolved. It will continue to evolve. Seize the right opportunity when you see it.
Yeah. And I would also say that patience plays a key role. So it's not that, you've taken a break, you are also
golden words.
Yeah, it's like the journey of being a caterpillar to a butterfly. So it takes time. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for your inputs. Ujjwala, over to you. It was a pleasure being here, really, with such an esteemed panel and such a charged up panel for this topic, which is so pivotal. It was a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Aditi, for moderating it so well. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, Aditi, for moderating this and making it so seamless. Because I think the last few thoughts that you guys have, the last few thoughts that you guys have given actually went in order, right? Or in order of what women should do. Like first you build your confidence, and then you go ask for what you deserve, make that dent, create that thought process, and then it's up to the companies, right, to do what they can do. So I think that was a wonderful way to close this discussion. Thank you all so much for your amazing thoughts. I would like to say, like, the amazing questions that we've got in this chat is just testimony to what you guys have spoken in this session, because I can just see that women relate to all of it, which is why we have so many relatable questions, and that's great. So for those of you who we haven't been able to take your questions, I think you can still go ahead and use this opportunity in the networking rooms, where you can actually chat with your speakers, mentors, all our panelists who will be there throughout the day. Thank Thank you very much for all of you. I hope you stay back in the session and enjoy the rest of the day as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Neha.
Thank you.